For 700 years, Harborough's livestock and agricultural produce market was held in the streets of the town. In 1203, King John granted the infant town a right to hold a weekly market. Thereby, Harborough became Market Harborough. Market day was Monday, but in 1221, King Henry III changed it to Tuesday to avoid a conflict with Rothwell's Monday market, and it has remained unchanged ever since. The high street was used as a market pitch for cattle, with the square accommodating sheep, pigs and calves in temporary pens. The conditions in the town on market day can be imagined, with drovers herding hundreds of animals through the streets, and with trading continuing from 10 in the morning to sunset. This was tolerated in the town streets for 700 years, until this new livestock market was built by the Urban District Council as late as 1903, on the edge of the town between Northampton Road and Springfield Street. At the centre of the new market, this substantial building was erected, containing refreshment rooms, bars, a dining room and settling rooms where transactions were finalised. The arms of the Earls of Harborough are carved on the clock tower, the council having obtained permission to use them as the town's arms. The original drawings of the refreshment and settling rooms were prepared by the council's engineer, Mr. H.G. Coles, in collaboration with the local architect H. Winter Johnson. In addition to the main building, 2 single-storey buildings were designed to accommodate auctioneers and merchants, and to serve as a corn exchange. The exchange was also to act as a reserve settling room for persons not caring to conduct transactions on licensed premises. The new market buildings were to be eventually erected by the local builder, Thomas Hickman, at a cost of £6,589. Before the works could progress, the council had to acquire the rights to hold a market from the Lord of the Manor, Lord Barnard of Raby Castle in Durham. The council paid Lord Barnard £2,455, thereby ending the manorial lord's control of the town's market, which had endured for 700 years. The official opening of the new market on 14th April 1903 was an important civic event. The chairman of the council, Mr. J.L. Douglas, performed the opening ceremony before a crowd which gathered at the main entrance in Northampton Road. He commented that a great source of annoyance and nuisance to residents had been abated by removing the market from the town's streets. After the ceremony, a luncheon was held in the settling rooms, attended by a numerous company, including councillors and contractors. Built at the Springfield Street entrance, the Market Superintendent's Lodge and offices bears the date of its erection, being 1 year earlier than the official market opening. During the first half of its life, the lodge housed successive superintendents and their families. In more recent years, it was the residence of the council's highway superintendent. Offices in the foreground were occupied by auctioneers and various traders and merchants dealing in agricultural supplies. The market was designed with pens for 1,600 cattle, but these were reduced by half in the 1960s, when a large area of the market fronting Springfield Street was sold to William Symington and Company, the soup manufacturer, whose premises adjoined the market. This sale reflected the considerably reduced throughput of cattle at livestock auctions, not only in Market Harborough, but nationally. Originally, there were 4 sale rings for cattle, but not all beasts were sold by auction in the early days of the market. The council exercised their right to levy a toll on every animal sold. In 1903, tolls varied from an old penny for a calf to 6 old pence for a bull. These tolls were trebled if an animal was sold by auction. In 1904, the first full year of the market's operation, 20,495 cattle were sold, and a similar number were sold in the following year. With the decline in cattle sales, only 2 sale rings were in operation after the Second World War, and sales continued to diminish into the 1980s. However, these remaining 2 rings were modernized and equipped with weighbridges so that individual cattle are automatically weighed as they entered the ring. Eventually, all cattle brought to the market were sold by auction, as this procedure appeared to produce the fairest way of dealing. So the auctioneers became an integral part of the market operations, notifying and arranging sales, conducting the auctions, and of course, collecting a commission. The market in 1903 could hold over 2,000 sheep, and in the early years over 25,000 were sold annually. Over the years, sheep sales continued to flourish, and most of the pens were retained, although in recent years some were removed to create parking spaces. Each pen, 8.5 feet by 6 feet, was designed to hold 12 sheep. Planks fixed along the centre of the pens above the fencing provided the platform, giving the auctioneers a perfect vantage point from which to conduct the sales. This is the way sheep sales were conducted throughout the 90-year life of the market. Beyond the sheep pens, along the northern boundary of the market, near the river, were 2 ranges of sheds. One shed could accommodate up to 300 pigs, and the other provided cover for 160 calves, together with space for poultry sales.
Well, I thought about this, yeah, then I was told that you could see this on my first time. There we are, 45. Because then close next season, all the people they started at the market and opened up through one. It's been to get to know markets.
The loading and unloading of animals is a constant activity in the market, and it is essential to prevent the escape of animals. Despite the care exercised by farmers and drovers, the occasional accident occurred when animals, even bulls, broke out of the market. The square was devoted to retail stalls after sheep sales were transferred to the new market in 1903. Up to 70 stalls occupied the square on Tuesdays and Saturdays until they were ousted in 1937 to permit road improvements. The covered market in Northampton Road was erected by the council at a cost of £5,000, and the contractor was the local firm Frank Hickman & Son. It was opened on 25th October 1938. Before completion, stalls were temporarily located on the adjacent old brewery site alongside the river. The scheme proved controversial, with 45 stallholders petitioning the council to return the market to the square after the road improvements were completed. Nevertheless, the new covered market proved to be an instant success. A total of 70 stalls were provided, divided into areas for food and other sales. Here, in the food hall, are the original permanent stalls for sales of meat and fish, with marble slab tops and washing facilities. In the first year of operation, these stalls were let at a charge of 10 shillings a day. Quite a considerable amount when one realises that this sum would have purchased about 12 packets of 20 cigarettes. The new market had a checkered history, as a year after it opened it was requisitioned by the government for wartime use, including the reception of evacuees from London, and not brought back into market use until 1946. In the general trading area of the market were about 60 stalls, with all manner of goods on sale. The marketing of local agricultural produce was considerably diminished after 1946, and of course rationing limited the trade in some lines. These stalls were charged at rents of 7 shillings and sixpence per day in 1938, now equivalent to about 38p. But over the years, this steadily increased, usually in line with inflation, but also according to the level of demand for stalls. The market had no heating facilities, and for many years, traders and customers had the benefit of fresh air by virtue of the open grilles which ran along the whole of the south wall. The council was finally prevailed upon by the regular stall holders to insert windows to keep out the drafts, and this was done in the late 1960s. At the same time, a full Saturday market was reintroduced, in addition to the traditional Tuesday market day. Previously, Saturday markets had been held when the stalls were on the square. Before the new type stalls were provided, the main hall was also a popular venue for regular Thursday auction sales of second-hand furniture and for occasional shows and exhibitions. So this 1930s building has served as the town's marketplace for over 50 years, a much better environment for market trade than had existed before. Now what of the future? The present building is to be demolished after a new replacement general market has been built on the site of the adjacent bus station. The Springfield Street Market Lodge, the home of market and highway superintendents for 90 years, also has to go, and Agriculture House in the cattle market opened in 1975 to serve the Leicestershire and Northants branches of the National Farmers Union is also due to be swept away. A new cattle market is to be located between Lebanon and Foxton. But fortunately, this 1903 market will be remembered by the preservation of the settling rooms and clock tower building, which is to be restored as a splendid example of Market Harborough's architecture at the turn of the century.